Hello everyone. Welcome to Chloe Rose. Hello, Chloe.
Hello, thank you for having me again.
Yeah. Likewise, thank you for joining me. And we're excited today because we're going to share some of your experiences that you've been having through my new service, currently called the Building Your Heart Aligned Spiritual Business. So it's a mentoring service that I've just created. And so in my true fashion, I was like, let's create something, but get someone, a client, to volunteer to join it and really help shape the first versions of it. And as much as it is to help you on your journey, Chloe, I also wanted to just learn what it was like to experience what it's like to, offer this service and how it feels. So thank you for going through it. And yeah, I'd love to go right back to the beginning. So we did produce a few different. It's funny. I wanted to use the word artifacts. It feels very historical. Um, so it was the 1st of May that by then I must have said, "Hey, Chloe, are you interested in this new service?" And you must have said yes, because you then went off and completed a little short survey to describe some of the challenges that you're facing. Do you remember what it was that attracted you to the service, or just the idea of it in its first form, and some of the challenges that you faced?
hmm Yeah, so let me think back. Artifact is such a good word because it feels,
In that
gosh, it's been like such a whirlwind this year. But also, thank you. Thank you for me being the lucky guinea pig, first and foremost. A precious role that I was happy to take on. But yeah, I mean, I'll be completely open and honest, as I feel I can be now. But when you reached out to me, I'd just broken up from a long-term relationship. I had just moved home, so it was in this time where kind of the logical side of my brain would have said, "This is the wrong time." To do anything like this, but my heart and my soul and my guides were like, yes, let's do this. This is like the perfect energy with such big endings and new beginnings and transitions to actually move into something. And it did feel like that. It didn't feel, there were times where it felt overwhelming, but it's only because it was like a lot of information and things to work through. But it never felt like this was the wrong time. It felt like it was the right time. And I have felt probably for a couple of years now that my business kind of reached a plateau. And I felt that I was sort of happy for what I was doing, but I felt like my abundance and my resources were reliant upon other people. I haven't felt like I was in the driver's seat, definitely felt a big creative block. And of course, when you are in a relationship you're not serving one another and you're not supporting each other's growth, that can happen as well, but also taking into accountability my own actions and choices and healing. But yeah, I was in this place in my business where I would have bursts of inspiration, but I wasn't dedicating enough time into really nurturing myself and feeding that inspiration. And I think what really attracted me to what you were offering, because I've had a lot of people offering me business coaching in the past, and I'm quite just quite a sort of woo-woo watery person. So when people say, yeah, let's do this like structured business coaching, I'm kind of like, ugh. Yeah. And I think what really attracted me to yours was the fact that it was channeled and really, connecting heart to heart, soul to soul, connecting into guides. It was very intuitive, and the way that it flowed really called to me, because although you gave me some fabulous structure, which has really helped me, and it hasn't felt controlling at all, a lot of it was inspiration that flowed, that felt like what I need at this moment in time, actually. And a lot of the things that you channeled are things that my heart has been calling for and yearning for so many years. I just almost haven't had that, like, that cheerleader to say, yes, this is you.
Wow.
I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you. And I feel it's so important, today's video is all about, hearing more about your journey and transformation, and my touch points on it. I must admit, even prior to our chat, some of it I'm not fully aware of, right? Especially when you're channeling something, I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know what that means to you, but your guide's telling me all about it. And I'm like, wow, here's all these things, Chloe. And you're like, it's amazing. And I love that. That's so much, part of this magic of this journey as well. Some of the things, so you did a little survey. It was really short, and I remember asking things like, what do you feel your superpowers are? What are your fears and blockages? What are the things that you feel you offer to your clients? And just basic things like, can you show me your website, some of your testimonials? Really quite basic stuff, which I personally find really helpful because it gives a sense of where you're at.
Yeah.
And you said some things like, so if we fast forward a little bit, one of the first things we did was we met together in one of my quantum psychic sessions, and it's a very broad ranging session that can include many things, but we set the objective to really find out more about your challenges and things like and try not to trip myself up over the terminology, soul purpose and life purpose. So, we know that souls love to grow, and then we know that souls come into different lifetimes to experience different purposes and missions. And there was some really interesting things started to come through. I remember you saying some of the challenges you faced were that you wanted more clients, but you wanted to, unblock yourself. And there was these challenges you had about feeling that you'd sometimes be quite motivated about work, and other times you would be a bit feeling more apathetic about it and not really fully connected. And there's you said a loss of direction, and sometimes you mentioned earlier about what was also going on in your life. All that kind of munged together and it's not surprising, we are our business, so the outside of your life also reflects on the inside of your business. And how was the first session you did with me? How did that feel? Because I remember we really wanted to first focus on what's your purpose? Like, what is the reason Chloe Rose came into this lifetime? How did that first session feel?
I remember it feeling really good because I didn't know what to expect, because it was so like, hey, Chloe, do you want to do this thing? And I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And we jumped on the call, and it was just very much you connecting in with my guides, and straight away, and I knew she was there. My elven guide, Elmara, came through because she has been with me actually since before. She's been really coming through to me, just being like, go into nature. You'll get everything you need there. So she came through, and we both immediately felt her presence. So that was awesome. It was like this instant connect, which obviously helped you to connect. And yeah, it was amazing. You got some clear answers straight away, because I feel like I'm always self-aware, and I know that I'm here to help people and support me, but it's like getting down to that nitty-gritty of the soul's purpose it's a tricky one, right? And things can shift and change and grow and evolve. But I remember quite instantly in that call, you got a clear answer about cycles, and about guiding people with cycles. And that makes a lot of sense to me as well, especially in the last few years, because I've been called back to the ancient ways of our ancient ancestors and the pagan path of working with the cycles. But then it's kind of going deeper and deeper and deeper when you think of cycles. It's infinite, and such a reflection of my own life as well, especially with breaking through the cycles of fear. And to be honest, in that first session, what you were saying resonated on a deep level, but it's taken some time for me to sit with it to now be like, now it makes sense.
Yeah,
Because I could, and I'll speak totally honestly here, especially because I think this will benefit people watching this. I could sense my ego resisting you telling me what my soul's mission is.
yeah,
You know, because really we want it to come from internally, but often it takes someone else just activating that remembering within us. And everything that you were saying resonated. So it wasn't like you were telling me something that I was like, oh no, that just does not make sense at all. But it was a bit like, okay, let me figure this out. But it was great. It was a great session, actually. And I loved how it was too. I just loved that it was channeled, and you, the way that you just let me ask questions too. And then the answers came through. It was just a really beautifully led session that didn't feel businessy.
That's right. It's a business meeting. Let's talk about your soul purpose. Here it is. Yeah, and so I love. Thank you. I love your transparency, because I would be like that, right? I'd be like, "Who are you to tell me?" And I'm with my own guides. I'm like, "Hang on, you're not even my soul." And I remember like there was two big things that stuck out for me in the session. The biggest, and I feel this is also why we're both wearing black, and I figured you might be, is there was this reconnection with your dark side, with your darkness.
Yeah.
And because that was really funny for me, because I don't, you know me, I don't have the best memory, and if you've told me before about any of the darker aspects of your personality or music taste or any of these things, I wasn't always like fully conscious of it. And maybe some of that's also because the energy of it from you was that you're like, oh yeah, there's just some other stuff too. But this what felt for the first time is I saw this exploration into the whole of you, and suddenly it was an opportunity to really acknowledge your darkness, and for us to witness. We got glimpses of Snow Raven, this this aspect of you, this past life that represented both the strength of your darkness and a not in isolation, you know, a holistic version of you, and then also we got some hints on some of the traumas, which we can come on to, and that was just it was so empowering to witness, because so many people will run from their darkness, right? And to some extent, most of us do that in our lives. I know I've done it, and then we do all these other things to overcompensate. And on the cycles, I must admit, although I was channeling it as the cycles were being described to me, and some of the examples that came through were winter, spring, summer, autumn. I had no idea there was such depth and purpose and reason, and symbolism, but then also the practical aspects of how important they are, and how there's cycles in everything, and then there's also this beautiful interconnectedness of cycles. It's like, whoa! Like my mind was like, I know I'm saying these things and I'm channeling them, but there's so much to take on, even though we're pretty familiar with days and nights and weeks and months and other cycles, but not their full depth and meaning. And I don't just mean as a human race. I mean, like, as in our current, scientific and philosophical and religious understandings of cycles. It's we knew this many thousands of years ago and forgotten a lot, but there's also so much to learn, and it's all, as you said, it's right there in nature. It's like you can just go outside and go and ask and learn more and remember.
It was so powerful having you acknowledge the darkness and the dark side, because like heavy metal is my first love, right?
Yeah.
It's what I listen to when I'm driving, it's it's just something that I don't talk about much. And like some of the happiest times of my life was where I would like make my own clothes and wear like really dark makeup and go to heavy metal festivals. Like I still look back at that time and I think that was just me expressing myself freely. And there is so much conditioning, that people say, oh, heavy metal music is satanic and demonic. And it's actually like, if you listen to the lyrics, they're incredible. They're actually like really uplifting and powerful and healing. And it's amazing how we can become trapped in these belief systems. And also, I think because I went down the path of becoming a yoga teacher, in some beliefs is like, oh, you shouldn't wear black and all of this stuff, and all of that is just bullshit, because it's all structures and beliefs. It's all to do with our individual intention, and this has really brought me back to that self-empowerment, and knowing within myself that I'm not doing any evil deeds. So whatever I choose to express myself is just what my soul wants to express at this time, and that's beautiful and it's perfect. And we shouldn't have to fit into a box, and we shouldn't have to do something because someone else tells us that it's right or wrong. We should follow the calling of our own hearts.
That's right. That's wonderful. And very few people ask me why I wear black quite a lot. And there's two main reasons. One is I honor my dark. Like I want to have it on display. It's like, here's all my darkness too. But also the practical aspect of it's fantastic at receiving energy. And I love your taste in music because I have a lot of heavy metal bands I've loved since I was a teenager. And I still listen, usually at lunchtime when I'm making my lunch, I put on and I scream along to metal music. And it's just this beautiful release. And I'll be roaring like a dragon, and my daughter will come down like, what are you doing? It's like, oh, I'm just making toast. And I always think if you want to meet the calmest people in the world, go and have a chat with some heavy metal fans, especially after listening to them, because it's a beautiful release. So that was super powerful, and I also really enjoyed the first session we did. At the end of it, we came up with some, and don't ask me how we did all this in just an hour, but we also came up with some patterns. So we talked a bit about what sort of balance you're seeking in your work and life. For example, like how many hours a day or week you'd like to work. Balance with all the fun things, adventures in your life, time with loved ones, your passions, your hobbies, all these things as well. So I didn't just want to focus on the business, because I don't feel that any one part you can be successful in your own eyes if you're just over-indexing on one area. And then we also spoke a bit about some of the things that we would do over the coming days. So we said that we would, first of all, I would offer daily messages, and we chose WhatsApp, right? And what's helpful about that platform is you can text and voice messaging, and I feel like we quite quickly develop an etiquette. Sometimes you want to leave a lot, and it's like either of us would share a lot that would come through in a big voice message. And sometimes, especially when we knew each other were quite busy, we'd leave a little message and say, here's this thing I'm doing, or I'm thinking about this. But it was a check-in each day. And the first idea was we'd do it for 2 weeks. And then we also had this new action, which was to go and visit a past life where you had some trauma that seemed that was and is interconnected totally with Chloe and the challenges that you'd been facing before, but it was this healing that needed to take place under the surface, right? And I when I look back at, I wish I had a screenshot of your old website, because everything was like bright and white, and there was this. You wouldn't look at it and think, oh, Chloe's a heavy metal fan.
No.
or Chloe embraces her darkness, or indeed really what. But there's what I loved about your website previously, it was very powerful and your brightness and lightness shone through. So this was different, right? The second session, we'd agreed to go back on the recommendations of your guides to go back in time, in space and time, and perform a hidden witch wound session. How did it feel when, first of all, when you found out that's what we were going to do?
I knew it was coming. I will say that.
Yeah, that's good.
I knew it was coming. I'm pretty sure I asked for it, like soul telepathically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it was coming. And I'd love to share actually like how powerful that session was and give a bit of context to anyone who's watching this, because I, a few years ago, moved to a place in Oxford, very close to a place called the Witchwood Forest, like an ancient witchwood forest, in a house called Rivendell. And for some unbeknownst reason to me, obviously now I know and I understand, I felt incredibly connected to the land and the forests here. I had a mushroom journey a few years ago where I walked around the Witchwood Forest and I walked the lands, and the whole landscape turned back into the times of the witch trials, and I saw the land and felt the energy of the land and did prayers, and I was walking, but it hasn't been since that time a few years ago that I've revisited it. So it was really magical to have this witch wound, and it was actually with a tree that I've been visiting before this session with Jon, this really magical tree that I call the Goddess tree, which is very close to my house, a short drive away. And yeah, I actually had a past life there, and
So cool, because I was visiting the area. This is prior to the mentoring, right? I was passing by and dropped in, and you took me for a walk and took me to that very tree.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because you literally just couldn't make the stuff up, because I didn't really, it seemed amazing when I first met it, and I really enjoyed the walk with you in the forest. Wow. Just incredible. But I must admit, I was still just in kind of Jon mode. It's like, I don't really understand what's going on, but this is nice. And, not until we went back in your past life and all this starts to join up together. And I feel at a soul level, because you started by sharing this experience that you knew of it. So my logical mind thinks, well, I guess part of you was avoiding the pain of this, right? Facing this trauma again, which also might explain why you did have glimpses of it. When you had that mushroom experience, that it's it's part of you trying to reconnect, and you always felt that it was there. You just didn't know, first of all, what it was or what power it yields, and then also just that fear, anxiety, right? Like, I don't know, like what will I find when I go there?
Yeah.
It was a very powerful and vivid experience. Was I crying? I was crying. Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to be the one that holds it together this time.
But tell me a bit about that experience of when we went back and visited your past life at that very tree.
Yeah, I will. And one thing I'm going to share as well, like another strange thing, is that I've taken friends on numerous occasions to have picnics around that tree in that area, and I've always said to them, I just know that there is witch history here, and they're kind of like, yeah, and I'm like, I know it, can't you feel it in the air? And they're like, yeah.
I love that.
Now we know.
Yeah,
told you so.
That's right. No, for sure. Fact.
It was an amazing experience. I mean, I love any of these experiences where we get to travel to past lives and kind of pick up the pieces and pick up the shards and bring them back into your soul, because afterwards you just feel so much more vibrant and full of life. It's like finding literally like a chunk of you and then bringing it back into the physical. So It was amazing. I think at first I was in such disbelief that it was that tree.
Mm. Yeah.
And again, I was like, no, this isn't real. And then the more that we went into it, the more I started seeing it and feeling it. And there was, I was tied to the tree. I was tied up to the goddess tree and I could feel it. I could feel it around my hands. I could feel it around my waist. And then the more that I allowed myself into it, I could come out, zoom out into a bird's eye view and actually see the gravity of the situation that was going on. But then in the healing of the session, I basically hid my powers in the tree, which is what we did. I was a witch that was being held up by assassin witches.
Mm.
I should write a book about this.
I know a whole movie about it. I know, it's just all
Yeah.
around the tree as well. It was incredible.
Because they wanted to harness my powers and use them for evil deeds. So I put my powers into the goddess tree, which was amazing actually. And then we set that past life version of me free. So yeah, it was an amazing experience and it felt very real. And then 2 days later, I actually went back to the tree and retrieved those powers. And I did a whole ritual around it. I held a funeral for that past version of me, but also any past version of me that was holding me back, the procrastination, the self-doubt, all of the heaviness. I wrote a poem. I took an offering of blood, flowers, hair. Like I just went whole hog, and this was all channeled to me. Like very specific instructions for this ritual were given to me after that hidden witch wound past life. So it was really powerful. Like it came to me straight away, and it was like, you need to go and do this, and it needs to be within the next few days.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I feel it now, and I felt it then, was that you are so brave, Chloe. I've met some brave people in my life, but after this, just going through this very intense past life healing, and it's starting to stitch together the experiences and help bring so much understanding. There was this ask to do this funeral because it's part of the cycle, and to release and then celebrate this past life of you. And I was so stunned that you just, like, as you say, a couple of days later, you were there. You were like, and you were sharing it on social media, like, here I am, doing this thing. And it was, I just want to celebrate you for embracing it. It's like, I've got this action and it's going to change my life. So I'm doing it now. Let's do it now.
Thank you.
And this is whilst everything else, like you were just about moving home or just moved home at that point.
Yeah.
And your relationship as well. This was all huge changes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, congratulations on, your bravery throughout, but those moments really stood out to me.
Thank you. And it was interesting actually, like going and doing the funeral, because as I was approaching the tree, there was all of these like past things coming up, like, oh, what if people see me, and what if they think I'm a witch, and what if they think I'm casting evil spells? And all of that was a part of the healing, right? Because all of those voices and shame and traps that we have around ourselves come up in order for us to release it. And of course, as soon as I sat by the tree, it was like tumbleweeds. No one walked past. The whole place was empty, and it's quite a touristy area because it's a beautiful site to visit, and it was just empty, so it was a magical experience. So thank you.
Wow. And just celebrating you going through that, so in a public space, as you say, it's quite busy. It was busy when we took a walk there, and I feel that you, by setting that intention and having that bravery, it has a big effect on the area around you. Just last week? I visited some standing stones, and it was really, really busy. 20 odd people there. But my guide said, oh, by the time you're there, everyone will leave. Because I wanted to do some dragon-like language, and I wanted to, roar at the ley lines and help the area as much as I could. And it was incredible. Everyone they said hello. They seemed very friendly and all walked off. It's like, it's just Patch and I. So yeah, it is amazing how the universe, our realities respond to our bravery.
And I think also it's when we activate that remembering of the powerful beings that we are, we actually remember that we do command the energy around us.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we absolutely do. We are the creators. It's the good news and the bad news.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so we did that session, and you went off and did your funeral as well, which was just a phenomenal celebration. Um, and I feel we were having a bit of chat in between because I in the days after that, because I think we started talking about things like we were refining your life purpose and mission. We were chatting a bit about that on WhatsApp, um, and we were trying to get some of the wording concise. And I think, did I do things like offer some suggestions, and then because it really it's yours, so it's just like it's not really nice to be told what your mission is, the energy behind the words themselves and the creation of it has really to be yours.
Yeah. I think I wanted from sort of a business perspective,
Mhm.
some ideas of a sentence that looked and felt good and that wasn't too long-winded. So,
Yeah.
for me, it was more of like a structural idea
Mhm.
rather than the words themselves. And, with your structure, I was able to create something that really resonated with me.
Oh,
So it was
fabulous.
having that bouncing back and forth that was really useful.
And a little bit of a spoiler alert to that. So I was just looking at your website just now. Um, and I love, so I mean, we can talk about a bit about the transformation shortly, but visually, but one of the first things you say under Mystic Hearts is that you reawaken. It says reawaken your heart to break free from the cycles of fear, rising into love. And then you have your mission where you say, "Hi, I'm Chloe. I'm a full-time mystical creature, professional mystic yoga teacher, quantum healer, nature medicine practitioner, and artist in England." And you say your mission is to help people break free from cycles of fear, reawakening their hearts and re-becoming the highest true version of themselves. Um, and you explain a bit about the how with drawing inspiration from ancient forests, cycles of death to birth, magical, and I love the spelling of magical, the right spelling, magical folklore. Join me on mystical adventure and come back home to your whole self by learning how to harmonize your shadow side to live a life of love, magic, and purpose. Um, and I feel that's evolved a bit since we were working together, and that's just
Mhm.
so phenomenal to see. My personal beliefs is that if we just have a purpose, kind of doesn't matter what it is, as long as we truly believe in it, the energy behind it
Yeah.
feels whole to us, and it fuels the fire in our hearts and our bellies. Like that's the thing. That's why I'm here. Remember, and as long as that's true for you, then it'll guide you through your life and it'll evolve itself, right? You'll look at it regularly, as I can see you've already done, and keep
Yeah.
refining it. But
Mhm.
it'll only ever get better. It'll only ever become more aligned, um, which is fantastic to see. So well done for that continued evolution and such a difference to what I first saw
Mhm.
in you. Um,
It's
so
such a hard thing to do, refining
Yes,
that.
it is. It's so funny, isn't it? I know we could have just spent, whatever 3 sessions plus the session I did and writing only focusing on that one thing. And to be honest, if that's the only thing you got out of the mentoring, it's still enough to change your life. Because
Yeah.
I feel as humans, certainly I'm programmed this way, is just or built this way, should I say, is that as long as I have a problem to solve, my life will orientate itself around
Hmm.
that solution. I will never stop until it's done. And
Yeah.
but the hardest thing is finding it. Like, what is
Hmm.
that problem I want to solve? How do I want to help serve the rest of this world and universe? So we went on to uh, a deep dive session. So this was a bit of a surprise for me because I hadn't planned this. And in fact, I felt a little bit guilty about investing a lot of time in it. In that I didn't want to just dump a load of uh, work on you. So I did this thing called what do I call it now? A remote deep dive session, I think. And my intention was to take some of the actions we'd already learned about. So we'd learned about your mission, we'd learned about the challenges that you've had in your past life. We'd learn all about the darkness you're facing and expanding into, and the healing. And we learned about cycles. And so I felt I had enough to then go off and solo spend some time. I remember it was about an hour or an hour and 30 minutes on a Saturday morning. And I started to work through what are all the areas that I can help with you and your business. And before I kind of rabbit hole a little bit on your business, there was also tenets. So these trade-offs we wanted to make between finding that to achieve that balance of work, your mission, and Chloe, your life, and all the cool, fun things you want to do in your life. And how did you find that experience of the tenets?
I liked it, actually. It was nice because it just made me think, yeah, actually, what do I want? And I think I mentioned this to you as we were working together. I'm someone who understands things quickly, but almost integrates things slowly. And I feel with the tenets now, it's something more and more every day. I'm sort of understanding more about what I want, and it's even you giving me that permission to write down the tenets for my business and, the agreements that I want and why I'm doing this. It's like, yeah, actually, I just want to read more and I just want to lay on the grass and read for like 4 or 5 hours and be fabulous, More and more of these things are coming up, and it's becoming this beautiful way of really unraveling that overworking cycle that we can get trapped into, especially when we become self-employed and we just think that we have to work and work and work and work and work. We know that just doesn't serve. So the tenets were great, and the video transmission that you sent me was such a surprise, but it was fabulous after the such a powerful witch wound healing. I was quite discombobulated, to be honest with you, and it took me a week or two to energetically actually recover, because I'd had also a past life healing with a friend of mine as well, an in-person one. So it was just like my whole being had just been completely battered and emptied and I had to slowly rebuild. But you sending me that video was just great, because you went into detail and depth about a lot of the things that we'd spoken about. And for me, one of my issues that I shared with you is that I get a lot of these creative ideas, but actually putting them into action and making them make sense was something that I struggled with in the past. So that video, and then you sent me the written script of it, was super helpful for me, because it was an idea, sort of how to think about structuring it and the details of it. And I was like, oh, this is great, because that just gives me such a nice skeleton to work with.
Yeah. So and the way I did it was, and just thank you for your kind words. In case I forget, I'm sure I'll say thanks a lot at the end, but thank you on the way too. I just felt that I wanted to, that feeling of the rubber hits the road, like when we're humans and we want to do the day-to-day things and we want some tangible tasks to do. I wanted to give you something that you could work from. And so what I did was I just set up a safe space and invited in your guides, and then I started I asked them questions and channeled, and I was screen sharing, right? So I was typing as I'm channeling, and it was really funny because it was the first time I'd realized fully why I'd spent 26 years in software and 8 years at Amazon, and now I'm like a spiritual guy, mentor guy, psychic. I'm like, so where were all these, like, how are these disparate things coming together? And there I was, like, channeling a spirit guide, typing. I'm like, I'm in a spreadsheet like I was at Amazon. I'm channeling as a psychic. I'm loving this. And I really enjoyed it. I covered with your guide, Elmara, we went through, touched a little bit on the tenets. Then we went into like finances, some suggestions about creating the flow. I gave you someone that you could a contact, someone you could work with if you chose. Branding, some ideas. Now, I'm not a designer, and I'm not saying all spirit guides are amazing designers too, but it was the energy and the purpose behind the choice in coloring. So there's things like earthy brown, human skin, peach, brilliant white, blue in the heart. These are some of the things that we that came out of that. Some legal stuff like GDPR and a privacy statement, which was handy. I could just give you my my template for that. And then we went into a lot of detail, and this is some of the part I loved the most was diving into. I asked, what is one service that I can help co-create with your guide for you that you can then that can be, you know, one of your flagship services, and it's everything, right? It's the including the questions at the start of a service definition, like who needs this, what problems do they face, what problems do people have, and then moving on to some of the practices that you could follow to support them through it, and what the benefits they get afterwards, so what they'd expect to get after the session. So it feels like it's about half a page of A4 notes that I've been scribbling, but I know I was talking a lot as well about it. And then I'll just list off the rest. There was like, we asked about one-to-one online services, recorded sessions, in-person sessions, packages of multiple services, mentoring, live streams, free services, membership group, training, group services, events, vlog, blogs, shop, including for magic wands and talismans. And then also a little bit about, later we came on to some of the business cycles as well, when we went to the kind of weekly cycles planning. And at the end of that, I felt I was a bit concerned. It's like, I've just given Chloe loads. It's so densely packed. But I do remember, and this felt really natural, was this is just a big catalog of stuff that now you can choose to action at any time.
Yeah, it didn't feel immediate.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
And that's really good, because I also, to your point about that feeling of being told what to do, I didn't want to go into that session to with any agenda other than to create, you know, a list of things that you can then feel into and follow your own guidance that you can pick from and continue to develop.
I think I asked you for it though a little bit as well. Like asked for help and just steps. So especially because I really respect your knowledge with like social media and things like that, you know, just I sort of needed some of that structure and your guidance with things like that, and your help with the live stream and the idea for that, which I'm going to start after summer, I've decided, by the way, because
exciting. Yeah, schedule
that's
it.
the cycle that I choose, is after the summer. But yeah, it was so helpful, and I actually have I printed off the list that you sent, and it's on my desk.
Oh wow.
So I can kind of like dip back in and out of it and say, do I have time to do this today? Do I feel like I want to do a little bit more work on that? So it's super helpful.
Wonderful. So you did produce a little document of tenets for personal and business. And there was this thing that I keep looking at throughout our chat today, is a big spreadsheet, like a kind of Uber spreadsheet, where we were just tracking the notes, and it was helpful because I could put in links to anything that we created. And another big thing felt like the weekly pattern, so the way of working, and it's not just work, right? It's the way of structuring your life so that you can build something where it supports both the business purpose. Do you see an orb just there? Business purpose, bing, and then but balanced. And later, especially through the exercise with you, I realized not just balanced, fueled by all the joy and rest and receiving and the passions and all the things you love doing in your life. That's really what fuels your business. Not the other way around. It's not some sort of I used to believe it was some sort of compensation, right? Like, oh, I get paid a salary, then my wife will love me. And it's like, no, that's so broken, Jon. No wonder you're stressed out and burnt out. How was that experience? Because we had some bumps in the road, right? We were like, I was trying to give some advice, and you were finding it difficult to receive.
Hmm.
How did that feel? Be as honest as you like.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely the most triggering part of the mentorship for me,
Yeah,
because of my own shadows and the realization that throughout this journey, I've gone through times where I've been strict with my schedule or been good about, not working on certain days, and then sort of lapsed because I've been like, oh, I need money, so I'll just say yes, 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 and then you realize, oh crap, I'm working 6 days a week.
wow.
And even that realization of having one client in a day, it's still a working day, and it's like managing the energy of that. Yeah, and it felt like so that was the first realization of sort of accepting that I'd let that happen.
Yeah,
That it was like I'd spread butter really thinly across a piece of toast unnecessarily, and I wasn't taking charge of my schedule. Yeah, and then I think the second realization of why it was triggering was because I think that I hadn't realized within myself the possibility of only working 3 or 4 days a week. Said I wanted it, but
mhm,
I couldn't see it for myself. I
yeah,
couldn't see how it was possible. And you were very patient with me and you showed me your schedule and you suggested a few things about moving around in-person clients. You made me realize that I can actually let go of one work opportunity, which I've had for a couple of years, that isn't serving me time-wise or financially. So I'm going to let go of that. And I think the key was your advice, of saying, really take charge and value the work that you do as well, and realize that it is life changing what you do, and the energy that it takes and that it needs. So that was amazing. And then, yeah, just realizing that I can do it. Just looking at it and slow, but also slowly over time. I think it was again this feeling of I felt like it needed to be done urgently. And that
yeah,
was scary. But then when we took a step back, I think I asked you for a breather for a couple of days.
yeah.
And then I came back into it and I moved a few things around, and I thought, and then I realized, oh, I can dedicate a whole day to creativity. And then I started getting excited about it. And then I took a step back and I thought, okay, what can I do in the next 2 months? What can I do in the next 4 to 6 months? And then in a year's time, how do I want my schedule to look? And then I was like, okay, I can really do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot as well. One of the first things I learned was my mission wasn't on my website homepage. So I added that,
Mm.
I think, by this time that we'd gotten your mentoring. And then the second thing is, yeah, we created, so I think I had like shown you a kind of template of my working pattern, which is primarily my working hours. And then you said, oh, here's like a spreadsheet of the things, like just a single view of a week
Hmm.
of how I'm working and how I'd like to work. And we chatted on WhatsApp about how you could move towards that. And it's I totally resonate with that feeling as well. When you first realize how out of alignment what
Hmm.
you're doing is with what you do want, it's shocking, and there's this desire to want to have to fix it immediately. But the good news is, not only do you not need to have to fix it immediately, you can evolve it in a very simple way.
Hmm.
And so after we discussed, and you'd come up with your template, it included this. I love the colors as well as this kind of green of I will support my business, and having a high, clear, clean, joyful vibration by doing all these things. And you can choose like was it Friday, Saturday, Sunday? I can't remember your
Yeah.
pattern.
Yeah.
Um, and then and I'm like that, but Monday is my flexible day where I could develop a training course or go camping or whatever I choose. Um, and what I've found really helpful with that having that single spreadsheet now is I open it up every day with my browser when I first turn on my computer, and it shows me where I want to be. And so whenever someone says, "Hey, John, can you do this session? Can you do this booking?" I just look at that and I say, "Does it fit?" I was like, "It doesn't fit." Well, is that a no, or do I need to evolve? Never compromise or degrade, my perfect working pattern, but actually, evolve it. So some things I did, I've stopped as a result. I've looked at it and I'm like, I just can't do that. It's never going to fit. I'm never going to be able to squeeze it in. And one thing I added, interestingly, was my Monday live streams. I had this long chat with my wife about my Mondays, and she's like, "But do you enjoy it?" It's like, "Yeah, I really love it." And do you enjoy doing it twice a week? "Yeah, I really love those live streams twice a week." "Why don't you just do it every Monday?" She said, "We can still, if you have the day off, we can still go away for the day and all these things."
Oh.
So that was lovely.
Do you want to know something really interesting as well?
Oh yeah, please do. Yeah.
That since that exercise, the universe has intervened.
Oh, right.
Because I haven't been working on Friday, Saturday, Sundays, and sometimes Thursdays and Mondays too.
Wow.
Because of festivals and social events and all sorts of things. And it's like, well, it's already happening now. So I'm actually, between now and the end of August, I am going to have to completely change my schedule. So by the end of August, pretty much what we planned together will be put into place.
Not long, is it? It's just
not long.
Sorry, end of August, 2 months. But yeah, it happens fast, right? And I think that also explains how fast it goes the wrong way.
Yeah.
Say the road to hell is smooth and easy. It's a bit like that. You have to make some hard decisions, but as soon as you've decided that that's the thing you want, everything will align. I love that. A bit like the Google opening hours you get on websites.
Oh yeah.
Like the universe is listening. It's like, oh, Chloe's open for business on these days. That makes sense. And then we also did a final session. So we caught up a couple of weeks later and we said, let's go through. So we created a safe space. It was under the title of Quantum Psychic Healing Session. So it was safe. I could bring in your guides. And I really left that to you to drive, to say, okay, what you've had some time, you've got tons of actions and already some huge transformations. Now's your chance to ask questions and clarifications and advice. How was that last session for you?
Oh, it was great because we'd covered the healing. I'd covered the action steps. So this was like a technical one for me. And I remember I had something clear in my mind because and it was great to have that break as well between the last sessions, to have a break, to start working on things. We were still in contact and I was doing my walks in nature and posting and sharing, and there was just one thing that was still feeling uncertain for me, and that was the YouTube live streams, which was something that Elmara had suggested for me, which is great because I think it's a great thing to do, but there were a few questions that I had with the technicalities of it, and just about setting it up and what to do and how to do it and all of those things, and I asked you and we really got down into the details of that. So it was really great. Again, it was like another completely different session, and it was using all of your technical skills to support me. I'm okay with technology, but when it comes to things like that, if I'm going to do something now, I want to know what I'm doing and be able to do it to my best ability. So it was really helpful now. So when I have that launch date ready, I've got all of the information that I need to go for it. So it was great.
Oh, wonderful. And we covered a broad range of things, right? We talked a bit about you doing your videos and walking, and which I love your walks. Is it what is it? Wandering and pondering. There it is. Absolutely wonderful. And I really love just seeing you out in nature, and there's this bravery aspect, of us showing ourselves, and then also just the fact that it's so intuitively led, and it's not just, "Hi, I'm Jon Binnie, join me for a psychic healing session. There goes your life. It's amazingly transformed." It just feels so natural, and it feels like we're there with you, which I love.
And that's such a great reflection, because I remember one of my issues that I had, which I shared with you, was that I feel like when I'm on social media that I'm performing. And I really don't like that. I don't want to feel like I'm performing or trying to be someone. And you said, well, why don't you try just walking like I do? And it's been a game changer for me, because when I'm in nature, I feel like myself. So
Yeah.
yeah, even when I'm still in nature, I feel like I can just speak so much more clearly and naturally. Yeah, rather than being
And
confined in a
oh, definitely.
concrete box.
And welcome to the shaky hand selfie club, right? Where
Yeah.
because it's so cool. What I love the most is I always want for my favorite content creators that they would spend less time editing and more time creating,
Yeah.
because I would
Yeah.
love more content from them, and for them to not, like I just did there, when they make mistakes in their words or they go for
Mm.
ages like I do.
Yeah.
I just love that because it's humans. We're humans.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, we went through, I think, a lot of other things. We talked a bit about some of you're asking questions about different programs you'd run. There was
Yeah.
trackers that we kind of collated and kept a note of. And we also, I asked about this mentoring service as well, and asked for your feedback about, sizing it, how was the number of sessions we did? Because the first time I'd run through it, I
Hmm.
thought initially it would only be two, but now it's really four
Hmm.
sessions, and one of those is remote, plus these different artifacts that I'm sure will continue to evolve. But yeah, as we're up on an hour, well, for us, we chatted briefly before we started the recording. I'd just love to hear, your final thoughts about the experience, both the transformation within yourself and your experiences of the service.
Hmm. Yeah, it was just amazing, and it was perfectly divinely timed, with such a big transition in my life. It was like having this support in remembering my true self and remembering that it's okay to be really nerdy and weird and wonderful, because that's clearly a part of my life path. And I have honestly felt like so much more of a whole and complete person since doing the funeral and, having that hidden witch wound. I feel like my powers have been activated. So my psychic abilities, writing poetry, and these poems are coming out as spells.
Yeah,
So that's going to be a part of the services that I offer if I'm doing a ritual for someone. So, breaking a cycle of fear. If we do a ritual together, I can write you a poetry spell that you can then use, to use the power of your voice.
love your poetry.
Thank you. And all of this stuff it's unlocked these parts of me that have been active before in this lifetime, but I've just been burying under a pile of of shit, basically, with no other word to put it. And this gave me the spiritual support and the more structured guidance that I really needed and craved, but from such a unjudgmental, and unstructured way, in the sense that you're not trying to be anything and you're not trying to make me be anything other than myself. So you weren't pushing beliefs on me. You were just giving me options. And it was like the information that you gave me was fabulous ideas, but there's still so much space and room to grow on them. So it was almost like just giving these small seeds or like breadcrumbs to follow. So yeah, it's been just so amazing, not like any other coaching experience that I've been a part of before. So it's been fabulous. I feel excited. I went actually away for a week and I couldn't wait to get back, because I was like, I actually miss going for my walks and doing all my creative stuff. And I think that's like a powerful reflection of the work, is when you go away and you're like, I miss my life.
Been done with the whole thing. I want back to this.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Oh, thank you. And one thing you did say to me that really stuck with me, and I ran off and told my wife afterwards. Said, because you've been through the one-to-one sessions with me, foundational training,
Mhm.
and the intermediate training course, which was really intense. And then you've also been on live streams with me. So you've known me for a few years, and podcasts, you've known me for a few years. We've worked together and we've met. And you said something along the lines of, Jon, this is probably the thing you're best at.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
oh, that's that really stuck to me. It's like, it is. Maybe this all makes sense to me now. My guides were saying, Jon, the 26 years in software, why do you think you're doing it? And it's like, I thought that was a waste of time. It's like, no, it's part of the journey. But I just want to make sure, did I get that right? I'm not just putting words in your mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. I said that and I felt that, and there was something that clicked on this course. I just like saw you so effortlessly doing this work, and also just so like so passionately, and it just flowed out of you. You know, and you know, you and I have spoken before. Designing courses can be quite challenging and quite difficult, but this one just felt like it was just flowing from you, like divinely guided. And the way that you led it, it felt great. It felt good. You know, you were guiding it in such a heart-centered way. And yeah, all of your experiences and tools that you've learned over this lifetime probably weren't connecting before, but now it's like it all came together in such an amazing way, because you've got such a well of knowledge to support people, especially in the digital landscape that we're in at the moment. And it's like bringing those two things together, the spiritual and then the more technical and digital side of things. Yeah, you really have a gift of marrying those together and then helping support people that's in service of each individual's highest good.
Oh, that's so kind. Thank you. I just,
You're going to cry again.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I am. Yeah. The yeah, just that feeling of flow and joy. Like I absolutely love delivering the service. So thank you so much for being my first client and helping shape it. And I'm trying to think if I have anything else to say. I think, did we cover everything? I think we did. I
think so.
If you're watching this video and I haven't included any additional artifacts, because I'd love to, especially what you shared publicly, Chloe, I'd love to go back and do another version of adding in some of these things about some of this imagery, because it was just so powerful. But I'll talk to you about that separately. But it was just, yeah, it's just an honor to be able to guide you through this journey and to witness your transformation and be on the receiving end of your shift in content. And the transformation in your website, the transformation in you. I just see you your energy is just so whole, but it's the start. It's like the foundation of the whole range of you. It's not nothing limited. And yeah, I love to take, full all the glory for all the things you've done. But so much is you. It's yes, I can talk to spirit guides. Yes, I can use my knowledge and wisdom, but really it's you that has taken these huge leaps forwards, and you've been so brave throughout. And in a time in your life when so many people would shy away, and yet that chaos, perhaps a bit like the world's going through at the moment, that chaos surrounding you in your life seemed the perfect time. You're like, well, everything else is up in the air. Let's do this at the same time. And it was that perfect time to transform. So congratulations on your transformation and your continued growth, both spiritually, personally, and in your business. And thank you so much, Chloe.
Thank you too. It's been an honor to receive this gift and to work with you one-to-one. I can't thank you enough. I hope that you can see me and that brings you joy, because yeah, so thank you. And I've been a very happy guinea pig, as I said in the start. And I think anyone who does watch this video, if you are ready to just go full force and say yes to yourself and your soul's mission, I can't recommend this enough. And it's like, it's full power in a short space of time, and it gives you that space afterwards to weave in this information like in any way that you wish. So it's like, it's intense, but it's also just really beautifully divinely guided, and you can take the information that you want, and you get incredible healings with Jon, which are just powerful and life-changing. So yes, it's fabulous. And we're here now, black twins.
That's right, yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you. And what's the best way if people resonate with your work and your energy? How do they best connect with you, Chloe?
So if anyone's interested in working with me one-to-one, my website is the best place to go to check out my services, which is mystichearts.org. Nice and simple. If you want to see more of my vibe and my energy, I post mainly on YouTube, also a little bit on Instagram. Both of those are at mystic_hearts with the E and the A as a 3 and a 4.
Fantastic. And I'll make sure your website's in the description. And yeah, I'd love to get you on another live stream at some point in the future, and looking forward to seeing your live streams as well. And if you ever want a guest, I'm happy to turn up and say hello.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you so much again. And I will bring us to an end. Thank you so much, everyone. And of course, if anyone's interested in this service, I should completely forget to say this, but just visit jonbinnie.com. You can see it's already available in the booking page, or just comment on the video or email me at info@jonbinnie.com. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.